Hi, my name is Mike Sutton from ROI Training, and in this video, we're going to walk through creating an application-based load balancer. So when I select EC2, in this example, I have two virtual machines, each called demo and a number. Now, if I look at the networking for each, you're going to notice they're in the same VPC or virtual network, but I have them in different subnets, and I also have them in different availability zones. So we can build a certain level of high availability into our infrastructure. So if we look at each one of these, you're going to see that I have them in different places in Northern Virginia. So two different availability zones. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put a load balancer in front of them. So this way we can distribute traffic to each. So the instances themselves just have a simple web application on them that's going to display the name of the instance. Now, one of the things I have to do is I have to create what we call a target group. Now, for an application-based load balancer, we need to determine what we're going to put behind it. So when we create the target group is going to let us know whether we're going to put instances behind it. We can put IP addresses for some backing services. We can use a Lambda function, or we can actually use another application load balancer. In my case, we're going to select instances because we have those two virtual machines. Now, the next thing we need to do is create the target group. So I'm going to give my target group a name. I'm going to determine what type of traffic I'm going to use to reach that target group, in this case, HTTP port 80. And we're also going to select which VPC or network to use. We have a demo VPC we created for this, which is really just a couple of public subnets. We determine what protocol version we're going to use, HTTP 1, and we can set up our health check. Our health check is going to be checked obviously on HTTP, and we select the check path. What are we going to look for on that server? Now, when I select next, based on my VPC and my subnets, it's going to select the instances I have available to register with this target group. Now, both of these are my demo 1 and 2 instances, so I'm going to select them, and then I'm going to select include as pending below. So when I select that button, it's going to bring them to the lower part of the window. Now, you're going to notice that they're not really doing anything yet, right? So when I select create group and I select my demo and I look at my targets, right now they're unused because there isn't a load balancer associated with this target group yet. Once we create the load balancer, we'll go through the process of having these register with the load balancer. So that's going to be our next step in this case. If we go back to the left-hand screen, we see the load balancer link. We click on that, and this is going to allow us to create our load balancer. Now, when we select the Create Load Balancer button, we're going to be presented with some options. So whether we want to balance traffic on HTTP or HTTPS using an application-based load balancer, whether we're going to balance network traffic using a network load balancer, or whether we're going to use a gateway load balancer where we need to deploy and manage a first or third party virtual appliance as a way of distributing traffic. Now, for our purposes, we're going to go ahead and select the application load balancer. And once we select that, it'll go through that particular configuration. Each one of these configurations will be a little different because we're working with different types of traffic. So when I select Create for Application Load Balancer, now we get presented with a few other configuration options. We have to give our load balancer a name, so I'll call it Demo-LB. We select whether it's going to be internet-facing or internal. And we also select whether it's going to be IP version 4 or dual stack, where we'll run IP version 4 and 6 together. We'll do IPv4 in our case, and then we get selected with the network mapping. At this point, we have to select our VPC, and when we do, we'll be presented with the availability zones we have the option to use, as well as the subnets that are built on that availability zone. So we're going to select both availability zones, and that will default to both of our public subnets that we created beforehand. Now, once we have that in place, we can also go ahead and create a security group. I'm not going to use a default. I'm going to go ahead and create the security group I already have predefined. So we'll go ahead and select that, and then we'll go ahead and link our load balancer to our target group. So there's my target group we have. I add that, and once that's added, I can go ahead and set up the rest of my load balancer. Now, I can use add-on services, I can use a global accelerator. I see the summary of the configuration of my load balancer, but once I hit create load balancer, this is going to go ahead and get the process started. Now, when I go ahead and view the load balancer, it's going to show up as provisioning, and this is going to take a little bit of time. But if I also go to my target group, what I'm going to notice is when I select my target group and I select the targets, I'm going to now see that eventually they're going to show up as initializing. And this is where we actually register the target group with the load balancer. Now, this whole process itself will take probably in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll come back and we'll see what this looks like when completed. Okay, we see the instances now up as healthy. So they did pass their health checks and they were able to register with the load balancer. So from a virtual machine standpoint, we're ready. Now, when we look at the load balancer, it is now active. And what we can do is we can copy the DNS name of that load balancer and we can paste that into a web browser. And what we should be able to do is go from the outside world to the load balancer to my instances. And if we go ahead and make sure it's configured, we're going to see now that we can get to our first instance, demo 1. Now, if I keep refreshing this screen, I'm going to start seeing it flip from demo 1 to demo 2, which tells us it's distributing traffic to both of the virtual machines that I put behind my load balancer. So in this case, we are distributing traffic. My name is Mike Sutton. Look for more videos like this from ROI Training.